I'm putting the very last part of this installation video at the start so that nobody misses it. With the bigger prop on there, it will hit on the rudder, so you need to be able to turn the left side of the end point down. Okay, so we've got too much throw going that way. Now the way you do that is hold the menu button 3 seconds till the green light starts to flash, and then it's menu once, set, set, menu, menu, and now I'm into that. Now the idea is to put it where you need it and then press set, and then that'll be set. But the trouble is, if you do it like that, it sets the wrong way. I've actually got to put it to the right, put it roughly where I want it, say guessing it for the left, and then that is how much throw I've got to the left, which is what I want. I want to have a gap there. So to the right there. So if I wanted to reset that, just press set, and then, you know, if it wasn't where you wanted to start again, so put it to the right a little, like halfway, set, and then you're done. So right still goes all the way, left only that much. Just going to make a video today on fitting our CSS kit to the Spartan SR. I just want to say, I took this boat out yesterday, everything went great. I just want to tell people that I don't get these boats for free. I'm not a pro boat or Traxxas dealer. I buy them just retail. I don't get anything sent to me. I don't get any discounts or anything like that, so I've got no reason to say one boat is better than the other. If I like a boat, it's because I like a boat. It's not because they've sent me something for free or given me a discount. I just pay retail for everything. If Traxxas or Pro Boat were to start offering me boats to test for free or something, I would just say no, because it's just, you can't help but be biased a little bit. So I just want to get that out of the way. I thought this was a good boat yesterday. The only thing I would do different was move the batteries from the battery struts from where they give them to you, or from where they come from the factory. Just move the back one to the front, just to push the weight up a little bit. It was just a little bit flighty. In rough water, that would give you a bit of trouble. Yesterday was smooth, it didn't flip, but that's the only thing I would do different. I didn't touch anything. The trim tabs were angled as they are from the factory, which is slightly down, which seemed perfect. If you can see the bottom of the hull there, you can see a gap here, and this is on 0 degrees, so it seemed to be perfect. Now the only issue I had was the cooler legs, like they do in all these things. It's a silicone cooler. They balloon when they get under pressure, and the water comes out the ends. Why they've never changed that, I'll never know. So I'm just going to tell you the advantage of changing the parts that come in this kit, and why you would do that, or what you're going to gain from that. First thing is the cooler. So that's going to fix the major leak that you get with these. There's aluminium O-rings at each end that can be replaced if you ever needed to. So I'm going to show you putting that on. The other part, well, I should say the CSS kit means cooling, speed and stability. So the other part to the cooling part is the rudder. The rudder that comes with the Spartan is a single pickup, one pickup there, single outlet. Our rudders are all 4 pickups into 2 outlets. Each outlet has 2 pickups, so when you're going in a straight line, you're going to get double the pressure coming through. The other thing is, when the boat is turning, it doesn't matter whether it's this side or this side, it's always going to get at least 1 pickup feeding water through. Okay, they've put it on the right hand side, which you mainly do turn to the right, so that's why they've done that. If you were to turn this to the left, or you were going to do big ovals to the left, this is facing on the outside of the water, you're not going to get any pickup. With these you always will. Any other brand you will see of these that have copied us and done an upgrade, just do the 2 pickups, and no one else does the 4. The water tubing, the diameter of that is exactly the same as this one here, on 3mm ID, 5mm OD. With the dual pickup, it's more than enough to cool everything. Part of the problem with the single is you're going into the motor, cooling the motor, sending the warm water out of the motor into the speed controller, and then out. I've also designed this rudder with a much better looking bracket, than this plastic thing here. so it's nice and thick as well. She's 8mm thick, so when it's not going to flex or in a crash it's not going to bend. The old ones we used to have for the version 1s were the same thickness as the old version 1 rudder arm or rudder bracket, and they could bend in a crash. So we've gone from 3mm to 8mm now. That's going to get the cooling sorted out. We're not going to have any leaks. Upgrade prop is obvious. This prop is a little bit bigger than that one. It's still going to run fine. It'll even run cooler by the time you do all this with the standard speed controller and motor. So it'll actually take off faster and have more top end. Also, trim tabs. Our trim tabs are fully adjustable. There's a grub screw in here, whereas Traxxas just have a little piece of tin, you know, that if you want to change the angle of this, you actually get some pliers and you bend it up. Obviously they can flex when you're using the boat. This one can't. You'll see another brand of something that looks similar to this by Hot Racing. Now, they've copied us by making the CNC design where it's got the proper adjuster that can't flex, but their trim tabs are exactly the same width and size as the factory. So there's actually no gain in there. So fins. Our fins replace this fin that Traxxas give you. It's not even sharp. It's the same sharpness on the back as it is the front. I mean, you have a fin, you want it to cut through the water. Okay, you can adjust these from straight down to right all the way back if you want. So they're a bit bigger as well. And the other part to this kit is the wire drive. Has the adjustable stinger, whereas this, you know, it's in between a strut and a stinger. I don't know really what you'd call it. It just has a bushing in here, whereas ours has stainless steel roller bearings in there, so it's freer to turn. The stinger or the wire drive, we've gone through the advantages of this before in other videos. Stronger than the 4mm cable that they put in here, and it's being less diameter here, there's less friction. Alright, so that's going to do that. I've actually gone with purple. Like most people are going to go with blue. I've just gone with purple just for something different. There is a tiny little bit of purple on the boat, not much, but I'm just doing it just to be different. And it comes with, the kit comes with 1 meter of hose. That's enough hose to run the second circuit. So the idea is you leave all this in here and then you run a second circuit with the hose that comes with it. But I'm actually just going to swap it out, and I've got an extra 2 meters of blue tubing here just to make it look a bit nicer. So if you wanted to copy this, you'd have to buy that separately off us. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is take the motor out and put the cooler on. I should also say what tools you're going to need to do this job. You're going to need the 2 10mm spanners that Traxxas gives you in the kit. You're going to need a 2mm and a 2.5mm hex. What else? Oh, we're going to need to drill a hole too. We're going to need a 6mm drill for the hose, the extra hose line that we're going to be putting in there. So I'll rip the motor out. I've actually never taken one of these apart, so I'm not quite sure. I think I'll just take this mount out, and then I can get to that better. Oh, well, I'll take the shaft out first, because we know that's coming out. The way Traxxas do their cables, I've gone through this before, but I'll just let you know. They start off with 4mm cable, they go up to 5mm where their bearings are in here, and then they step it down to 3/16. Just this part here is quite unique. So you're actually going bigger than 3/16 on this part here. So if you were going to run just an ordinary 3/16 cable in there, like this part here is, if I push it in the wrong way, it's not going to fit. Okay, so I've taken all the bolts out here, 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 here. I've had to take the stuffing tube mount off as well, just the 2 bolts, and also the bolt out of the steering. Put that there, so I can get this whole thing out now. And I mean, you could do it without taking this out by taking those 2 off there, but that's just such a pain. So I have to get the motor out because I can't get the cooler past the wires here. I just obviously can't just slide it off the back. So just tear that out. So I'm going to be getting rid of this collar as well. So just get that out. Okay. So get rid of that. Now, I get asked more often than you think how to put a cooler on a motor. Put your O-rings in. And the trick is just a little bit of dishwashing liquid on each O-ring. And just slide and turn. You just got to make sure that you don't pull an O-ring off of the you know, out of its groove. And the way you would test it is you would just put a bit of hose on there and block the other one and blow through it. I already know that that went on nice. It's not going to leak, but just to be sure, block that one up, blow on the other one. Okay, so that's sealed, that's it. So now just put it all back together because you're not going to be worrying about that anymore. Wires are on the top, so put them on the top. Now whatever you do now, do not forget to put the joiner on the motor. You're not going to be able to do it afterwards. I think I made a mistake. I'm going to need 1 extra driver as well, smaller one for these small grub screws. So we need a 1.5 as well to do this whole job. Oop, just lost one. Okay. Shaft. Oh, look at that, it's just stitched me up. I'm just going to have to loosen the motor because that doesn't go on there because of that. But I won't have to take it all the way, I'll just loosen it off. See what happens when you do things live? You haven't done it before. That should be enough. There. Alright, I'll just tighten it all back down. Okay, so that's all back together. Just a matter of putting those 6 bolts back in there, the 2 bolts back on the shaft holder, and don't forget to put your bolt back in your steering servo. So there's actually nothing you can do wrong there. There's nothing at all. It's very simple. Now to put the stinger on, if I can even find it, there we go here. I did forget to tell you, yeah, there is two extra holes to drill in this as well. They look like an M4. Alright, you don't really have to put the bolts in the top. You can just use the 2 standard ones here. They're going to fit in here. And I see a lot of pictures of our stuff on the back of Traxxas boats, and they don't even bother drilling the holes. But so it's up to you if you want to do it. When you do drill the holes, the rudder's going to be in the way, but I can still put the bottom ones in just to show you that. These are all blind holes, of course, which means there's not drilled all the way through. This is the seal that stops the water coming in the boat. The other half of it, well, here's one part of it, and the other half should be in that hole there that you probably can't see. So there's no real reason that should leak. So we're going to use the same bolts. So what you do is get it in the middle of each hole. Okay. And once they're in the middle, you can see a bit on either side, which I almost got it there. And once it's in the middle, just lock them down, and then you can drill your holes for the other two, if you choose to put the other two in. Now, just on the slots on this stinger, I should say, the reason I didn't drill holes, I didn't design these with holes that fit perfectly, is it gives you more adjustment to mount the stinger up or down. If you choose to mount the stinger down, that is going to make the boat ride higher in the water, so be faster but more unstable. If you push it up, it's actually going to make the boat suck into the water, the hull into the water deeper. It's not like changing the angle on here. I'm talking about the height of the stinger. So maybe compare it. If you're not sure about all this, just compare it before you pull this off to where this one is, the height of this one, before you do it. It's not that complicated, but it's just another adjustment you can do. I'm just going to set it up right in the middle. Just thought I'd show you a little trick. When you're trying to put these bolts in here, it will make the you know, as they bound up onto here, it will make the stinger try and spin. So just get an adjustable spanner, shifter, whatever you call it, and hold it in place while you're tightening it. Just saves you getting it down, then knocking it one way, then the other one comes up, you know. So I've got both the bolts in the middle there. So now I'll just drill my holes. So 4mm drill bit. Get it in the middle there like I've done there. Just double checking there's nothing behind it. Now that hole that those holes that I just drilled are super close to the wire there for the servo. You can see my hole just there, and it's only just on top of it. So I'm going to move that wire out, just so I don't squash the wire. If you can just see with the light, you can see what I mean by that. So I'm just going to get this wire out of here. So there's no chance I can squash it. Okay, so that is the difference between the ones you're taking off and the ones you're putting on. You're not going to have to worry about putting any Loctite or anything like that, or silicone on the bolts. I wouldn't put Loctite either, because you'll probably rip the threads out if you ever had to pull them out. But yes, it's not going to leak because it's a blind hole. Holes are going to line up perfectly, so it's just a matter of screwing that straight in where it came from. We're using the same bolts. Okay, so this is all going to be loose when you put it on, but don't worry about that, because when you set the angle of them, you'll be tightening these two up here, and that will get rid of that. Just rip out the turn fins. This part here goes on the outside of the boat, so they're not interchangeable. Now when you put these on, I wouldn't suggest you going too low. I've pushed it all the way up as high as it can go. I'm just going to go on an angle like that. See how we go. use the bolts that came out of the old one. Right, this has got a kickback function, so you save the back of your boat if you were to hit, you know, a log or run ashore. How easy you want to come back depends on you how tight you do these bolts. Do them up firm because you don't want it coming off. You don't want it kicking back as you're driving. Now, probably led people astray a little bit. I've just realised there's going to have to be another hole drilled for the other inlet. For me, it's not going to matter because I've got drills that are that long. Everyone else, if you don't have extra long drill bits, don't put this on until you drill your hole. I'm going to do the wire drive now. Put some grease on it. I even used the Traxxas grease. And it's already cut to the right length. Now you can't use too much grease, and the more you put on, the less likely any water is going to travel up that shaft while the boat is stationary. So remember the tube, this is being smaller than the cable that you took it out, so there's more gap. Now because there's a little bend in the stuffing tube, like the wire is going to come out to the bottom of the joiner here. So I've just put a nut on there just so I can knock it in with this. It tries to push my Teflon liner out along as I'm knocking it in. So I'm just going to get it to the end of that. Keep the liner in like that. Now you're gonna need some kind of tool, some kind of way to lift that up. You might be able to get some pointy nose pliers in there perhaps. I've just bent up some wire, just use that as a hook, just to hopefully get that in there, and then I'm going to tap it up. There we go, it's found its hole. Okay, so I've tapped it all the way up to the to the end of the motor shaft. If you needed to, you could come back a little bit. It's a fair way past that second grub screw, and that's it. So use the same drive dog that you had on the old cable and put the prop on there. Tighten up the grub screws here, spin it round, put the grub screws in the other side and tighten them up too, and that's the end of that. Whether there's a gap here or there's no gap, it's not going to make any difference. Your old cable is a wound cable that can shrink under load, although something this short, there's not going to be much shrinkage at all. But with a wire solid cable, it's not going to shrink. You can drive it backwards if you want. It's not going to unwind like that cable would have. So there are a few hidden advantages there too. Okay, so I'm going to run the water lines now. First thing I'm going to do is change to the dual outlet. Let's see what the difference is. Okay, so it should be just a matter of, if I use their original hole, be just a matter of just enlarging that hole there. So the way these work is, what I'm going to do is get these two holes inside the boat, or those two things there in there. Yeah, and that's gonna, I'll just make that hole just a little bit bigger. It's gonna be pretty close. There we go. Right, so the way these work is, these are held on, this is held on from the inside by these. Because these are fairly thin holes, use this as a spacer so it clamps down a little bit tighter. Up to you whether you face that way or that way, it makes no difference. And whatever you do, do not do these things up tight. If you just put a drop of Loctite on them and just nip them up. I've had a few people in the past that have stripped the heads off. It's only a little 3mm or M3 thread in there, so yeah, you can't get too heavy-handed with that. It's a 5mm spanner you got to put on that as well. Now it's your choice where you put the extra line. You can put it next to it, put it above it, put it on this side. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of room in there. I'm going to put it next to it here. like I said, if you don't have a long drill bit like that, you're gonna have to do it without the rudder on. And if you're gonna put it next to it, just make sure you don't go too low. So I'm just gonna put it right there. Now the hole for this one is 6mm. Strangely enough, if you're in a fiberglass or a carbon fiber boat, 6mm is perfect. In plastic, 6mm is too tight. I had to ream that out a little bit, just with the drill. I think if I went to 6.5, it would be too loose. But for some reason, in plastic, it's like the hole opens up and shrinks. I don't get it. Anyway, so now I'm going to run some line. Now this will be a very tight fit in there, so you're going to have to like get some scissors, cut it better than I am. At least you can get your fingers in there to grab it and then pull it through. So I'm not going to show you all the details of running hoses, but I'm just going to be running one hose here into the top here. Water's going to come out there into the outlet there. It's not going to matter which one I use here. The other one's going to come from there into here and in and out on the speed controller. The only other thing I'm going to do is this has a lock nut here and here. I'm going to put that lock nut underneath here because it's just too hard to get a spanner on there when that's in the way. So I'm just going to back that out and do that. The other thing I've already done is put Loctite on those bolts there, and there's also another one that goes through here as well. Make sure you do that because they will back out on you. You'll have to do it on these grub screws as well, but we still got some adjustment to do, so I probably could have done it, but I'll do that later. This one has to have Loctite as well.